as a two-module complex.
Yeah.
That is the re-entry module plus the service module.
I believe at this moment, the Shenzhou spacecraft is very close to South Africa or in the South Atlantic Ocean. So this is the right point for the Shenzhou spacecraft to conduct its re-entry.
Now, last time when the Shenzhou-17 got back, they flew around the space station for a bit and took a picture of the space station with the Earth in the background. What about this time? Do you think that they did the same?
No. Okay, the first attitude maneuver is begin.
Yeah, that's the call out. So the spacecraft is having a 90-degree turns counterclockwise, horizontally. Tell us why are we seeing this turn?
Because we hope that we separate the orbit module in a different direction. So when it is separated in this direction, it will avoid the possible impact with the rest of the Shenzhou spaceship. So that's the concern on safety. So next we will see the explosive will work and the two modules will separate.
Okay, that's the call out. We had a successful altitude adjustment, the first one.
What you mentioned, the 3D animation is based on the real telemetry data. So it represents the real status of the spacecraft.
This is an incredible view with the Earth in the background.
Yeah, as mentioned, the blue marble is so beautiful.
Oh, that's the call out.
Yeah.
The orbital module separation is now being conducted.
Great, already separated.
A successful separation. As you can see, the spacecraft is now in a two-module complex.
Exactly, so now we only have two modules.
Coming up next is the second altitude adjustment.
Yep.
So after that separation, the returning flight officially begins. There's no going back because the docking port is on that orbital module, right? You cannot go back to the space station.
So at this moment, we cannot go back to Artemis space station.
Their destination, planet Earth.
Yeah. Okay, the second orbit attitude maneuver has already completed.
So the spacecraft continues to turn 90 degrees counterclockwise, and the spacecraft is also tilted a bit after the second altitude adjustment. Why is there a tilt?
This is because there are a lot of attitude control engines. Actually speaking, more than maybe 30 attitude engines on the propulsion module of our. Oh no, this is the moment to begin the orbit insertion to the return trajectory. Yeah. Commander Tang Hongbo reported the separation of the orbital module. Okay, we can see the cloud on the Earth. Oh, the main engine works.
Yeah, that's the re-entry burn.
Yeah.
Another critical step. This is essentially a deorbit burn that'll put Shenzhou-17 to its path back home.
Yeah. So you can see not only the two of the four main engines are working now, we can see also that the attitude control or the small engines are also working. So it's to keep the attitude stable. Also very, very important.
So both the main engine and the side engines are working properly. This is to better position the spacecraft to the point of entry. And this process is going to last about 150 seconds to 180 seconds.
Yes, very precise. And you know that there are four main engines on the propulsion module. Each have a thrust of 2,500 newtons. And for the return procedure, we only need two. So the other two we can recognize it as backup or redundancy measures to keep the safety of our astronauts.
Now looking at the spacecraft, the service module is set to be heading front during this process.
Yes.
Is that right? Why is that?
Because we need the deacceleration, so we must change the direction to the right direction before the, as you mentioned, the re-entry burn. And you know that's the because we adopted a three-module design as we already discussed. So we first separate the orbital module and the conducting the re-entry burn with the propulsion module. And at this moment, you know that's they've already what we call this already suborbital trajectory to enter the atmosphere.
And soon we're going to hear that first landing location forecast. This usually happens after the first separation of the orbital module.
As you mentioned, you know that after this re-entry burn, it will leave its original orbit and entered another, what we called, as I mentioned, a suborbital trajectory. So the lowest point, or the perigee of this trajectory, is inside the atmosphere. So the Shenzhou spaceship will go down into the atmosphere, and with the drag of the atmosphere, it will slow down.
You're getting a live view of the Dongfeng landing site also on your left of the screen. I think this is from the helicopter camera. The helicopter is from the air unit of the recovery team.
So we can see.
发现飞船。
发动机关机，返回制动结束。北京引导数据已发出，东风。
Very important step as well.
华山。
Re-entry burn is off. So what happens next after this?
Next, as you mentioned, because you know that the main engine has cut off and the spacecraft has already entered the re-entry trajectory. So at this moment, we can calculate or predict the trajectory. So that is what you mentioned, the first prediction of the landing point. But this is not precise enough. So we will have at least 4 predictions with one by one. You may also heard a voice that the ground station outside China has already captured our spacecraft, and they can also help to determine its trajectory.
安西。
Let's take a listen.
沙洲。
沙洲明白，引导数据接收正常。
双城。
What you heard the voice now is ground stations inside China. So they need the original data of the prediction. So this will help them to capture the spacecraft as soon as possible.
I believe this is the recovery zone. You're looking at the helicopter from the recovery unit. They've already arrived in the recovery zone, but from a safe distance to the predicted landing location.
And the good news is that we can see that at this moment is much more clear than in the morning. You know that at this morning I can still see the sun, and we cannot see the sky very clearly. But this moment it seems it's much better now.
So earlier, as you mentioned, we've got some good comm checks. A series of status report between Flight Command Center in Beijing and various tracking stations across the country. Everything is going well. That's the sound we'd like to hear. Got to mention codename Xiongying, which means Falcon, as the air unit of the recovery team. Codename Mengshi, which means warrior, as the ground unit of the recovery team. And Huanghe, Kashi, these are all tracking stations that will closely monitor the journey of Shenzhou-17. They will give call-outs as soon as Shenzhou-17 enters China's airspace.
Quite right. What you mentioned, the Xiongying or the Falcon is composed of 5 helicopters. So the fleet, one of the helicopters acts as the commander, so in charge of the whole procedure, and one is in charge of the communication, and the other 3 have medicals, so they will take care of the astronauts when they touch down.
And altogether, we're going to have 4 landing location forecasts, right? Why is that?
You know that the first one cannot be very, very precise, because you know that after the re-entry burn, we have more than 30 minutes since that moment. Right. So still, it cannot be very, very precise. So we can just only have a course prediction of the landing point. And with the along the trajectory, as we mentioned, there are all kinds of ground stations. So with the ground stations, we can observe the trajectory and predict the landing point more precisely. So with the second one, it will be much more precise than the first one, and then the third and the fourth. So with the last one, the ground crew can also go to the landing point as early as possible.
Once again, a live view of the Dongfeng landing site. This is the recovery zone for the Shenzhou-17's return mission. I mean, how big of a recovery zone are we talking about, Professor?
Oh, it's quite big. Much more big than the, precisely speaking, is more than 90,000 square kilometers near Jiuquan. Because you know that it's near the Gobi Desert, so we have plenty of land for this landing. And you know that's the reason is, is quite different from the situation in the years before. You know that in the years before, we don't have a space station. So we have a certain altitude, and to land, we can land on the Sizhuang banner in the previous missions.
Yeah, but that used to be the landing site.
We need to witness that several times.
Dongfeng was the backup one.
Yeah, Dongfeng is the backup one. But today is the main landing zone. Because you know that as at the space station phase, because the altitude of the station varying in a very remarkable range. So there are uncertainty of the right landing point. So we need a larger area. And also, that with the development of the local economy, there are more population in the Sichuan banner. So the Gobi Desert is a better choice. Another factor is that that during the launch we also need a rescue team for the emergency cases. But if we recognize the 9 Satellite Launch Center as the main landing site, the two rescue teams can combine to one. So this can also save a lot of money. So that's the reason why we choose today in the Tiangong Space Station phase, we choose the 9 Satellite Launch Center as the landing site.
Right. But heading back from space, you've got that Dongfeng landing set as your aim. How difficult is it for the Shenzhou-17 to hit bullseye?
Well, that's it must.
Oh, that's the first forecast.
东经幺洞洞度，动4分400秒。东经幺洞洞度，动4分400秒。落点纬度北纬41度34分，动3秒。北纬41度34分，动3秒。北京第一次落点预报已发出，雄鹰。
Great. The longitude and the latitude of the landing point, the first prediction has already been announced by the Beijing Flight Control Center to all the crew members of the rescue team.
Yeah. So when they come up with that landing location forecast, what kind of factors are they looking at? How do they calculate that?
They will calculate based on the position and the velocity of the Shenzhou spacecraft measured in all kinds of data resources. For instance, we have inertial measurement unit on board our Shenzhou spacecraft. Also, we have the Beidou navigation satellite navigation receivers on board our Shenzhou spacecraft. Also, as I mentioned, we have ground stations to observe our Shenzhou spacecraft. So we have different data resources. With all these data, we can have a more precise prediction based on all kinds of data, and it can be optimized.
Now with the engine off, how were they controlling the spaceship's direction? Are they basically in a status of free fall?
Well, that both on board the propulsion module and on board the re-entry capsule, besides the main engine, we also have attitude control engines. The thrust of the attitude control engines is much smaller than the main engine. As I mentioned, the thrust of the main engine is 2,500 newtons. But for the attitude control engine, it's only several newtons. So it's much smaller, and it can control. That it's outside the atmosphere. So we can only change this attitude with these very small rocket engines.
And just how challenging is the re-entry for the astronauts physically?
Physically, that they will experience the overload or the G-forces. Actually speaking, even in the normal case, they will experience about 3.6 G times greater than their own mass. And in emergency re-entry, they will experience more than 8 G. So they must be trained for that. This is the first one. And the second, what you mentioned, is the intensive vibration they must face. So the worst thing is that because the G-forces and the vibration collapse together. So it's much more uncomfortable than one training. That they will be trained on the test bed with the vibration or with the G-forces. But they cannot be trained these two things simultaneously.
Oh, they cannot?
Cannot, because it's too difficult to simulate them at the same moment.
That cannot be a comfortable ride. But is their health status being closely monitored throughout the way? I bet it is, right?
That they, as we mentioned, they must be trained for. They will experience the vibration on the test bed, and also that they will have the experience the G-forces on the ground facility. Moreover, they will be trained even at the up to 8G overload. They can also do the right choice and operations. So that's a requirement to the pilots. And they can adapt this with very sufficient ground trainings. And also, although that their experience before is very, very important for them. For instance, this time because we have the veteran, Mr. Tang Hongbo. He has already experienced this during the Shenzhou-12 mission.
Right.
So
He's familiar with the drill.
this is extremely helpful for him to ensure the safety and the success of the whole mission.
Yeah.
And now,
Right.
after this mission, Mr. Tang Shengjie and Jiang Xinlin are also become veterans. Yeah.
So this is an aerial shot at the Dongfeng landing site. If you're just joining us, this is a special coverage of the Shenzhou-17 crew's return to Earth. Now, Shenzhou-17 is in the shape of a two-module complex currently flying in space on their way back to Earth. The landing site is located in the Gobi Desert, as you can see there, in North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region near Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. It was put into practical use in September 2021 when it welcomed the Shenzhou-12 crew. This will be the 6th time that the Dongfeng landing site welcomes back Chinese taikonauts.
Yeah, I believe the video we are now seeing is taken from the camera mounted on one of the helicopters. Yeah.
That's
so you can have a good view.
Yeah, air unit of the recovery team. They've got tracking cameras, a very nice view. But if you look at the recovery zone, is that water? Can we see water?
Yes, that although it is in the Gobi Desert, but there are there are certain rivers there. Maybe we cannot see that in all season, but in a certain season we can see the rivers.
So close to the recovery zone, you've also got rivers, mountains. So the recovery team had undergone training for any kinds of emergency landing.
Quite right. The terrain is a very considerable factor we must think about. You see that the astronauts were also trained to, in an abnormal case, it is possible they touch down in the mountains or even in the waters. So they must be trained for that. And also that is why the rescue team is so important, and the early prediction of the right position is also very critical for us to save the lives of our astronauts.
Yeah, and when you look at these re-entries, some countries used soft landing. How do things compare? Which one is
Soft
more
landing,
challenging?
Because for human being, we must choose a soft landing, not an impact on the
I mean, soft landing on the surface
on
of
the land,
the water,
not splash
on
down.
ocean.
Yeah. Yes, so that's only a matter of choice. You know that we can land on the land. For instance, China and Russia choose this matter, and usually the United States choose to splash down in the Atlantic Ocean. But you know that the new generation of the United States manned spaceship, such as the Boeing's Starliner or CST-100, also choose to land on the land. So we cannot say, it's hardly to say which one is better, but still both measures works.
But the taikonauts have been trained for that,
Yes.
right, for an ocean surface landing.
Quite right, exactly. So I can still remember that in about 2016 or 2017, China Aerospace conducted a rescue training in the near the Shandong province. So it is the rescue in the sea. So also Miss Samantha Cristoforetti and Matthias Mokia from the European Space Agency attend this training. So we can see that's a very good start for the international cooperation.
So yeah, intensive survival skills training just to ensure that
Yes.
in the case of landing in a no man's land, they have the skill set to survive.
北京明白。
So all of China's Shenzhou mission, they haven't missed their target when they are coming back to Earth. They've all landed in the designated recovery zone, but they've prepared for any kind of scenario, including landing in another country.
What you mentioned, this preparation is extremely important. You know that between different countries there are agreements to save or rescue the lives of our astronauts. So China also part of this agreement for this. So if the foreign astronaut landed in China, of course we have the responsibility to save them. And also, if it is technically speaking, it's possible if anything wrong happened, we can maybe landed in another country or in their terrain. So also they have to also rescue our astronauts.
So after the Shenzhou-17 spacecraft re-enters the Earth atmosphere, the Northwest telemetry belt will take over the spacecraft monitoring. The whole process of the spacecraft re-entry will be visible through a live broadcast. We'll be bringing that process to you all the way through.
And the next critical step will be the separation between the re-entry capsule and the propulsion module. You know that only the re-entry capsule will be retrieved, and the propulsion module will be jettisoned before the re-entry. And you know that we only have the thermal protection on our re-entry capsule. So the propulsion module, after the separation, it will burn up in the atmosphere. Also, as we mentioned during the separation of the outer module, because you know that to ensure the safety and avoid any impact, we need to separate the propulsion module in a different direction. So before the separation, we will see another attitude maneuver to change its direction about 90 degrees.
So what are they bringing back with them in the Shenzhou-17 spacecraft? You can see it's a pretty packed space there.
Well, you know that just several days before, during the news release of the Shenzhou-18 mission, Mr. Lin Xiqiang, the announcer of China Manned Space Agency, mentioned that we've already conducted 84 experiments during this Shenzhou-17 mission. So many very useful samples will be back to the Earth, including the biological and space medicine study samples, maybe some animals or plants. And also we have the materials made by the astronauts in different scientific research tracks. For instance, you know that the study on board our Tiangong space station has already have very remarkable returns to our daily life. For instance, they've already made the materials which can improve the bearings to build our underground.
A gorgeous view up there. You can see the land.
What you see is the propulsion module.
So after China's Beidou navigation system was put into use, the forecast model of the entire re-entry process is getting more and more accurate. And the application of the space-based telemetry provides more information sources for the prediction of the landing point.
So within maybe 2 minutes, we will see the preparation for the separation between the propulsion module and the re-entry capsule.
That's another extremely critical step for a safe return. So other than experimental samples, I heard some of the waste are also stored in the
orbital module.
Yes. Okay, so they will be destroyed in space?
They will burn up in the atmosphere. You know that's also, as I mentioned, we do not have thermal protection on our propulsion module or our orbital module. So, but this moment still, the orbital module is remaining in the orbit. Because it's very big, it's about 2 tons, so it with the aerodynamic forces, the drag will pull it down, so its altitude will continuously decreasing, and then finally it will enter the atmosphere and burn up.
And looking at their 6-month stay up there, what major accomplishments have they been able to reach?
Well, you know, that's the Shenzhou-17 mission is the second mission during our what we call the utilization and development phase. So as I mentioned, they conducted more than 84 experiments. So all kinds of returns. But we know that after we get back with the re-entry capsule, all kinds of samples and also the data transmitted from the Tiangong space station, the scientists and the engineers need to analyze all these data and study the samples, and then we can get maybe we can publish the papers on the professional journals. Also, we can have the transplanting of the technologies. And also we can get more knowledge on the space medicine, space biology, material making, and so on.
And another breakthrough is that they completed China's first extravehicular maintenance of the space station. They repaired solar wings in the Space and Tianhe core module. How important was that task? How challenging was it?
Well, what you mentioned is very, very important for us to ensure a more than 10-year operation of our Tiangong space station. You know that yesterday is the 3 years anniversary of the Tianhe 1 core module launched into orbit. So it's already orbiting the Earth for more than 3 years. But during these 3 years, there do have space debris that impact on the 2 very huge solar wings. So they do have some damage to our solar wings. So the Shenzhou-17 crew has already repaired this damage. So it's very, very important improvement for us. Okay, separation in 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's the call out. The re-entry module separation is going to take place in 2 minutes. That means the spacecraft has descended from about 400 kilometers from ground to about 145 kilometers from ground.
Exactly. You may notice that we can see the one of the two solar wings of the propulsion module. So after separation, we cannot get any electricity from the solar panel. So we can only use the storage batteries inside our re-entry capsule.
So after that separation, the re-entry capsule will be heading back on its own. The service module, like you said, will be destroyed during re-entry.
Will also burn up in the atmosphere.
And after that, we'll soon enter a blackout phase, aren't we?
Yes, but still we need several minutes. As you mentioned, the separation happened at the altitude about 145 kilometers above the Earth. But usually the blackout area lies below maybe 100 or 90 kilometers.
But why is it that we have to go through another separation? Why do they have to drop the service module?
This is really necessary. You see that, as I mentioned, we only have the protection on our re-entry capsule and do not have any of these kind of measures on board our propulsion module. So,
雄鹰报告，空中分队到达占领空域，报告完毕。
so the helicopters have reached their position. And what we mentioned, that during the re-entry, we hope that to ensure the safety of our astronaut, we hope that the re-entry capsule could be as small as possible. So with the mass on the propulsion module, because we don't use that again, so it is what we call a waste mass. So we don't need that. That is why we need this separation.
长城报告，推返分离。
Oh,
推返分离。
excellent call out there.
神舟17号。
A successful re-entry module and service module separation. We are not getting a visual of it, but I believe now the re-entry module is on its own. It's approximately 145 kilometers from Earth, and it's keeping descending. Next step, the re-entry module will re-enter the Earth atmosphere.
We hope that to ensure the safety of our astronaut, we hope that the re-entry capsule could be as small as possible. So with the mass on the propulsion module, because we don't use that again, so it is a waste mass. So we don't need that. That is why we need this separation.
Excellent
Re-entry. So we use the aerodynamic lift to change the direction of the trajectory.
A successful re-entry module and service module separation.
Because we can.
In preparation for this return flight, this cosmonaut had gone through a series of targeted training, right?
Yes, but usually, that's the GNC or the guidance, navigation, and control system conduct the whole procedure automatically. So what the astronaut need to do is to just monitor the whole process. And in the abnormal case, they will do the right choice. As you mentioned, maybe push some buttons and to switch the condition, the status of the spacecraft.
So what are the critical steps coming next?
As reviewed by the commander, will be the separation. Maybe it's already conducted, and then we will change the direction of the re-entry capsule with the heating shield going forward.
And very soon we're going to have a live view of the capsule re-entering the Earth atmosphere.
Not this moment.
Very soon.
Yeah. We can see the very bright trajectory from the ground stations.
喀什发现目标。
Okay, quite right. The Kashi ground station has already, the Kashi located almost in the most western part of China. So the Kashi will be the first ground station to capture the trajectory of our Shenzhou spacecraft.
So officially the spacecraft is in China's airspace? Is that right?
Maybe not, because
Not
that
yet?
even it is outside China, because the Kashi has a very good eyesight of the spacecraft, but it is already very close to China's territory.
I heard that their meal plans on the space station have been adjusted for the return. Oh, that's the call out from the Huanghe tracking station. That is the last one we're going to hear before the re-entry module moves into a blackout phase.
Yeah. Yes. So because the atmosphere will become thicker and thicker with the decreasing of the altitude, so the aerodynamic heating will be more critical than before. The highest temperature on board the heating shield will be over 2,000 degrees Celsius. So you know that we also adopt the ablative materials on the surface of on the heating shield. So the ablative material will be vaporized and it will form a plasma shield which can block the radio waves. So that's the reason why it can form a blackout area and any radio waves cannot penetrate.
红光发现目标。
So we're standing by for a live view at the Shenzhou-17 spacecraft.
发现目标。
山海发现目标。
You're hearing, you know, all the signals of the Shenzhou-17 spacecraft got picked up by various tracking stations.
第二次落点预报。
Okay, the second prediction.
落点经度，东经1洞洞度，动4分51秒。东经1洞洞度，动4分51秒。落点纬度，北纬41度34分，动3秒。北纬41度34分，动3秒。北京第二次落点预报已发出，雄鹰。
Yeah, like
But
I said.
Qiuyan, you may notice that the second prediction, the longitude and the latitude is a little bit different from the first one. So that is the reason why we need 4 times the prediction.
Keep updating it.
Yeah, keep updating, exactly. So this one is more precise than the
正
first
确
one.
猛士。
So very soon, the spacecraft is going to enter the blackout phase. How is it formed?
As I mentioned, because you know that because of the frictions between the surface of the spacecraft and the atmosphere, the highest temperature can reach to 2,000 degrees. And because you know that the ablative materials can take off the heat produced by this friction and ensure the room temperature inside the cabin. But when the ablative material is vaporized, it will form, because the temperature is too high, and it will form the plasma shield. The plasma shield will block the communication radio waves. So that is the reason we cannot communicate with the spacecraft. But at this moment, still, the ground station can track its trajectory because either a radar or an optical telescope, they can still see the spacecraft.
So that is how we can ensure the crew safety while they're in the blackout phase.
You may ask you just asked this question, why we need this prediction. You may notice that the ground stations can find their target very, very rapidly. So that they are with the help of the prediction, so they can search their target more easily.
So it's incredible. The spacecraft will get to the temperature of up to 2,000 degrees, like you said, but they can keep the room temperature at around 23 degrees Celsius.
Exactly. So that's the help of what I mentioned, the ablative materials. The ablative materials.
Oh, this
yes.
is a live view of the ground unit of the recovery team. Looks like they are racing toward the landing location.
Yes.
According to the second forecast.
Yes, you may notice that the ground vehicles moving constantly because with a different prediction of the trajectory, they will need to move to the right place.
Oh, looks like we are looking at the thermal image of Shenzhou-17.
This is infrared image, infrared video.
Infrared image.
Yeah.
This is our first view of Shenzhou-17. It is streaking through the sky and continues to re-enter the Earth atmosphere.
回收2号发现目标。
Everything is moving extremely fast.
So Recovery 2 has already found Recovery 2 is a radar, so it is a very precise radar to find its target. And we can see the twinkle of our range castle. This is because you know that there are turbulence in the atmosphere. So
Looks
it is
like
like
it's
a bright
twinkling.
star.
I always love seeing this come through. You know, the brightness really gives you a good idea of the trajectory of the spacecraft.
Yes.
And as it gets closer, it'll get dimmer. So if you are just joining us, you're looking at Shenzhou-17 spacecraft on its re-entry to the Earth atmosphere, aiming for a touchdown just a little while from now. It's pretty
You may
exciting
notice
that we get the
on
shot.
the right of our Shenzhou spacecraft, there is a long trail.
红光跟踪结束。
There is a long trail. The trail is formed by what I mentioned, the evaporized ablative material.
This is a pretty rare treat to be able to see this. Our first view from planet Earth of Shenzhou-17.
Yeah. So although it's so bright, it's more than 2,000 degrees, but still inside the capsule, they are in a very comfortable temperature.
So from about 100 kilometers from ground, the Shenzhou-17 re-enters the Earth atmosphere at a speed of 7 kilometers per second. It looks like a fireball because of the friction.
Yeah.
Continuing to descend
山
there.
海跟踪结束。
山海跟踪结束。
Seems like the capsule is now in a calm blackout phase. We can't hear
We will,
from
I mean, we
China.
will go out of the blackout area very soon.
长城报告，回收主开关通。
43公里，
回收主开关通。
3个键。
回收1号发现目标。
Okay, recovery one has
回
already
收1号
found.
发现目标。
青山双补完成。
公里，
青山双补完成。
So after they come out from that blackout phase, the parachutes are going to kick in very soon.
回收1号双补完
2
成。
公里，是的。
回收1号双补完成。
So it's very quiet while the capsule is in its blackout phase, but after that, you'll hear the background noise once again.
回收2号双补完成。
回收2号双补完成。
对吧？正确。好的。
It seems we've already heard the voice of the astronauts. So it means that they've already go
out.
out of the blackout area.
34。
Great to hear their voices on the other side of the calm
They are
blackout
full
phase.
of confidence and relaxed.
Pretty chill, yeah, they sound really chill.
1号，雄鹰1号收到2次3信号，报告完毕。
北京明白。
And now you can hear the background noise from the capsule, meaning, yeah, they're officially out of the blackout phase. They can feel the gravity pull as soon as you come out from that
They will
blackout
already
stage.
experience the overload or the G-forces.
So in about 10 minutes or so, they will touch down at the Dongfeng landing site. Yeah, we've got good comms with the crew and a great visual confirmation of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And we just heard the astronauts
It's
talk
very normal.
a
You
little
know,
bit.
that's Mr. Tongba, the commander, has experienced this. This is the second time for him. But this time he sees in the middle.
Now it is going at around 200 meters per second. This is reduced from 7 kilometers per second. So the speed has been dramatically reduced. But it's still going too fast for the landing. That's why the parachutes need to
安
kick
基
in.
跟踪结束。
I believe at this moment it's already about 10 kilometers in altitude. And the next, because that will be deployment of the chutes, the parachutes.
Yeah.
So we will have an induced chute first, maybe 2 of them, to pull the other chutes out of the capsule. And then we will have a drogue chute. The drogue chute can reduce the velocity from more than 200 meters per second to about 60 meters per second. So at this is much slower speed, we can deploy the main chute. And the main chute can reduce the velocity furtherly to about 5 meters per second.
Oh, this is an optical view of the Shenzhou-17.
We can see the blue sky.
Beautiful shot of Shenzhou-17 coming down to Earth.
Yeah. Okay.
长城报告，10公里
Oh,
通。
there you go.
10公里通。
Just kicked in. One of the parachutes, huh? The drogue chute.
Yeah. So it will reduce the speed to
多减速伞。
60
And it'll pull that main chute very soon.
very soon.
There you have it. Beautiful.
Main parachute deployed.
What a gorgeous shot of Shenzhou-17
Yeah.
coming down.
Okay. Fully deployed.
Really couldn't ask for
Beautiful.
more for a picture perfect shot.
Okay. So this moment they've already been very safe.
做好
They can relax a little bit
下面
now.
通报
Yeah.
返回舱第3次落点预报。
Okay, the
落
third
点经
prediction.
度：东经，1动动度，动4分，动1秒。
So the next step will be raising the seats of the astronauts, preparation for the impact of touchdown.
北纬41度35分44秒。北京第3次落点预报已发出。
Why do they have to lift up their seats? Is it to reduce the force of impact?
Yes, you know that the impact is very remarkable. So they need all kinds of measures, including the raise of the seats.
And they've also have a backup parachute as well, right?
Yes.
Just in case the parachute fails.
So if the main parachute does not work, they can use the backup chute. And also, you know that not only the seat will be raised, but also you know that next they will jettison the heating shield, because at this moment, at the surface of our re-entry capsule, still the temperature is very, very high.
Wow, that heat insulation must be really good. They won't be able to feel any of that intense heat. And while they were going through that blackout zone, you know, while they were re-entering the Earth atmosphere, they can actually see what's out there with the fire and lightning.
Well, you know that usually because as I mentioned, the ablative material burn, maybe they will block the window. Oh. Maybe probably they cannot see the outside situation. Okay. So,
but it might sound really scary.
So
I would imagine.
You know that we can see this very beautiful view of the deployed parachute. This is because we have a very precise prediction of the trajectory 3 times.
Gorgeous, gorgeous view. That's Shenzhou-17 descending under those chutes. So like you said, next up we're going to have the heat shield at the bottom of the capsule being dropped. Once that's done, the air unit could start flying to the landing location. They were on standby from a safe distance.
Why the jettisoning of the main heating shield is so important is because also only with this measure we can have the possibility to use the retro rocket to slow down its velocity to be lower than 2 meters per second during the touchdown.
Just above the ground. Right?
That will be very, very comfortable for the astronauts.
So that heat shield jettison is going to happen when the capsule reaches 6 kilometers above ground.
Great. We heard a voice that
successful jettison?
Yeah, jettison the heating shield. So we must consider the safety of the ground crew because there is something dropped from the sky.
Yeah. So that heat-proof bottom is already being separated. This is like an armor for the capsule.
And next, you may see some fog released from the re-entry capsule. That's the release of the propellant, because for the attitude control system in our re-entry capsule, they still have a propulsion system which has toxic propellants, usually hydrazine. So we need to release them to keep safe of the ground staff.
And that usually happens at about 3 kilometers above ground.
Exactly.
北京明白。神舟17号返回舱即将着陆东风着陆场预定位置。
So we can see the strong wind, and
Let's get to our reporter Huang Yue. Let's get a status report there. Huang Yue, talk to us about it. What updates are you getting there?
Hello again, Qiu Yuan. So here in the Beijing Aerospace Control Center, we just witnessed a very crucial moment as the spacecraft successfully utilized its heat shield as it descended through Earth atmosphere. So, you know, the heat shield is a vital component designed to protect the spacecraft, because when it enters through atmosphere, because of the speed and the friction, the temperatures soared to thousands of degrees Celsius. But thanks to this component, the spacecraft is well protected in this phase of the mission. And now, as you can see, the ground control team is still working closely, coordinating with all working systems, and the atmosphere is a cautious optimism as we await further updates of the status. And actually behind me, the screens, although now you cannot see the condition inside the re-entry capsule, just now when we waited here, I can see that the 3 taikonauts, when they descended to Earth, they kept looking outside the window. So I believe they must also be very excited because after a 6-month business trip to space, finally they will be able to come back home to meet with their families, friends, and colleagues. So everybody is counting down to that moment, and we wish them a complete success. Qiu-Yuan.
Thanks so much, Wang Yue. So we've just saw a big plume of smoke
we've
there.
seen the fogs released from the reactor. As I mentioned, it's the release of the propellants remained inside the tanks.
Right.
So with the release of the hydrogen, it can ensure the safety of the ground staff because it is toxic.
So this is the standard procedure. They will be landed in just a few minutes.
Just before the touchdown, we need to switch on our gamma ray altimeter. The gamma ray altimeter is mounted on the bottom of the reentry capsule.
Wow, you can see the wind is pretty strong there. The Shenzhou spacecraft is swinging under those chutes. This won't be a very comfortable ride. They're feeling overload G-forces plus the rotating forces and
The
force of
overload
impact.
has already been gone. It's already in normal gravity, but still they can feel the shaking. So that is the reason why they must train very intensive trainings to adapt this. Because of the influence of the wind, this really not very comfortable.
Yeah, but they know what to expect and they've been trained for this. But for ordinary people like us,
that all these 3 crew members of Shenzhou-17 are from the pilots in the Air Force, actually speaking, the fighter pilots. So they have very good physical condition, also well trained for this.
北京明白。
what kind of final preparations the crew will be doing, now for landing?
As we discussed,
how will they embrace landing?
As we discussed, the raise of the seats and also the deployment of or switch on the gamma ray altimeter. And at the moment of touchdown, we can see a very bright, very clear video image of the reentry capsule.
It's pretty charred on one
Well,
side.
you may notice that on the right there are very dark color. It is because of the burning of the ablative materials. So it's in the upwind direction.
Right. And it's only on one side, right?
Yeah, only on one side because of its attitude during the re-entry. And as we discussed, so with the help of the gamma ray altimeter, we can measure the distance between the bottom and the ground very precisely. And at about 1 meter just above the ground, it will trigger the full retro rocket. So it will slow down the velocity from about 5 meters per second to about below 2 meters per second.
So it's just like walking speed.
Yeah.
It's pretty safe for landing.
Yeah.
And one thing to look at now is how the capsule will be landed. Will it land on its side or will it land
You
on
ask
its
about
bottom?
preparation. Well, at this moment, there is a very important preparation which entrusted by Mr. Tang Shengjie because he is 02. He is as I mentioned, on the right of Mr. Tang Hongbo. So just the button is beside him to cut off the parachute.
Oh, it's all him then.
It's all on him. And when they touch down, he will cut off the parachute. During history, we only have 2 perfect ones, the Shenzhou-6 mission and the Shenzhou-17 mission. So only in these 2 missions, our reentry capsule remain vertically on the ground. So this will be very comfortable for the astronauts. In most cases, it will lie down.
But some say the horizontal landing position would actually make it easier for the astronauts to get out from the capsule.
True, but because it's not very comfortable for them to stay in this status. Still, we need several minutes, maybe within 1 or 2 minutes for the touchdown.
And as we speak now, the air unit and ground unit are racing out to the landing location. So what next after touchdown? What are some of the critical steps coming up?
As we mentioned, we will have the cutoff of the main parachute. to avoid the impact of the strong wind to pull it to other places.
That has happened before.
That happened before. You know that during the Shenzhou-10 mission, it has not been cut down, although it that it is in the grassland of the Sisiwang banner. So the strong wind pulled the re-entry capsule in a very long gap. We can see the video of the re-entry capsule, which means that either the ground vehicle or the helicopter is very close to the re-entry capsule. So we can believe that after touchdown, the ground team, the rescue team, can reach the place very, very rapidly.
And how many people are we talking about when we talk about recovery teams? Hundreds?
More than that,
More than
because that we have, as we mentioned, we have so many ground vehicles, and also we have 5 helicopters. So they will stand there because that during the Tiangong space station phase, we need the rescue team to be standing by at any moment. If anything wrong happened, we have an emergency escape from the Tiangong space station.
We're really close to ground now.
Yep. So this is a view from the helicopter.
座号注意，我是北京，下面通报返回舱第4次落点预报，落点经度东经1洞洞度动3分4拐秒，东经1洞洞度动3分4拐秒，落点纬度北纬41度36分11秒，北纬41度36分11秒，北京第4次落点预报已发出，雄鹰。
Okay, the false prediction conducted.
雄鹰明白。
And that'll also be the final landing location report.
We've already seen it.
4拐秒，落点纬度为41度36分11秒。
正确，猛士。
猛士明白。
Still, the coordinate, the longitude and the latitude is different from the third one, so it has some update. We will see the touchdown soon.
Looks like it's going to touch down on a piece of flat land.
Yeah. So it's in the Gobi Desert, so it's really flat, the terrain.
But in some cases, it might land in the waters where on a hill.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see the helicopters. They're
we also need
really
to consider
close. There, touchdown.
返回舱着陆。
We've got a
You can
great,
see the smoke of the retro rocket.
首先，雄鹰报告。
a great visual confirmation of touchdown.
报告完毕。
Shenzhou-17 has returned to planet Earth as now it's back home. Welcome home, Shenzhou-17.
And this is the moment for Mr. Tang Shunjie to cut off the chute.
Soon we'll get a
the strong
clearer
wind.
shot
I
of the
believe this is the
capsule.
wind caused by the helicopter.
Yeah.
按计划
Looks like the capsule is being enveloped in a cloud of sand kicked up by the impact. While the Shenzhou-17 also softened by firing thrusters. What an exciting sight to see there.
猛士明白。
We can see some movements on the ground. Somebody is approaching the capsule. The helicopter has arrived fairly quickly.
We also have
there's
satellite
a-
navigation receivers on board our re-entry capsule. It can also send its signals reporting its coordinate.
Is that a ground vehicle approaching the capsule? That's fast. Almost immediately after touchdown.
I believe so, because with the help of the predictions.
Oh, we can see the helicopter coming in. So as we speak, all the ground teams, air units, they're racing out to the capsule, now officially in recovery. Staffs are speeding their way to the capsule from all directions.
Yeah.
They will now begin to make their way to the touchdown location. There you have it, Shenzhou-17 touched down safely at the Dongfeng landing site in the Gobi Desert in Inner Mongolia at about 17:46 p.m. Beijing time on April 30th. The Shenzhou-17 crew left Earth 6 months ago when the weather was getting a bit cold in October, and now they're getting back to Earth during springtime when Mother Nature is bursting back to life. We're waiting for some comm checks. We've already got a good visual confirmation.
Yeah. Oh, you can see the helicopters.
More helicopters arriving. These are absolutely fantastic views.
Well, before open the hatch of the re-entry capsule, there were also a lot of work for the ground staff. For instance, they will use a lead cover to block the radiations from the gamma ray altimeter.
You're getting a clear shot of the capsule. Looks like it has landed on its side.
So, not a vertical.
Might not be a very comfortable landing position for the crew, but they've been training for this. They know exactly how to cope, what to expect.
Yeah. But we can see that the parachute has already been
severed.
cut off very normally. So Mr. Tang Shengjie has done his job.
Right. The 3 astronauts are expected to come out from the capsule in less than 1 hour if everything goes well. More people arriving. The recovery team from the air unit, ground unit, they're approaching the re-entry capsule.
Before open the hatch, they will also check the existence of the hydrogen in the nearby atmosphere because it is toxic. So we must ensure the safety of our ground staff.
Right. If you're just joining us, you're looking at the live coverage of the Shenzhou-17 touchdown and recovery currently in progress.
东风请讲。
空中分队已全部到达着陆现场，返回舱呈倾倒状态报告完毕。
Oh, that's the call out. It's in its horizontal landing position. The air unit has arrived. Recovery crew is now doing their final checks prior to hatch opening. That's the next event coming up. And soon the Shenzhou-17 crew will take their first breath of fresh air since boarding the Shenzhou-17 spacecraft on top of that Long March 2F rocket in October 2023.
After 188 days, they can breathe the fresh air again.
The flight crew is now waiting patiently inside the capsule. The ground crews are walking their procedures, checks, and verifications to ensure that the Shenzhou-17 is in a safe position for the hatch opening. So you can see the recovery crew up there just preparing the vehicle in preparation for that top hatch opening.
And also the ground staff will also collect samples of the air inside the cabin. So this is very helpful for us to improve our Shenzhou spacecraft in the future.
So like you mentioned before, a few critical steps before opening the hatch, right? They have to be also aware of the radiation risk.
Exactly. So as I mentioned, because the retro rockets, the 4 solid retro rocket motors are triggered by the gamma ray altimeter. So it has gamma rays, very dangerous for human beings. So we must block the gamma ray altimeter with lead cover. So with that measure, we can protect the ground staff. You may notice usually the ground staff approach the range capsule in a certain direction to avoid the influence of the radiation.
雄鹰3号、雄鹰4号、雄鹰5号已在现场降落，报告完毕。
Yeah, once again, we've got more people from the recovery team arriving. They play such a pivotal role in these operations. And you can actually tell which team they're from according to their outfits. People in the red or orange uniform, they're from the recovery team. They will eventually help the taikonauts get out of the capsule. And people, I believe, in the blue top, they're from the medical team.
According to the voice we heard, most of the helicopters have already landed near our re-entry capsule.
Very exciting. I'm sure the flight crew is also very excited for this moment, for the hatch to finally open. And I bet the recovery team must be just excited as the flight crew. They're the first people that the crew, get to see when they got back to Earth.
Yeah.
Shenzhou-17 crew has been away from their families, from their friends for 6 months.
We've already seen the ground crew near the...
Oh, are they opening the hatch?
报告完毕。
Yeah, the people in the white uniforms are the medical team.
Yeah.
And
What you
then
mentioned, it belongs to the what we call the astronaut system, and also some staff from the Shenzhou spaceship system. So what we've already discussed to cover the gamma ray altimeter and those to check the existence of hydrogen will be conducted by the Shenzhou spaceship system.
Right.
And the astronaut system, the medicals, will take care of our astronauts.
And they will be the first people that the astronauts get to see. One of the medics will go into the capsule.
Exactly. So they will help the astronaut to readapt with the gravity.
I mean, to be a part of the team that helps greet them, got to be a wonderful feeling. I'm sure the recovery team probably really enjoys their job. And for people in that red uniform, these are the recovery team. The key of the capsule is in their hands. Huh? They are opening the hatch.
Yes, the hatch can both be opened from the inside or from the outside. So if an emergency re-entry happened, the astronauts can save themselves by opening the hatch by themselves.
So they'll be able to get out on their own.
They can do that. So they must be trained for this many times. Even that open hatch in water, because it is possible to splash down in the ocean.
It is. But that hasn't happened so far.
Yeah.
So we've got
We
a
don't
really
hope that
good
happens.
tracking record for the Shenzhou missions.
But it is possible that it is also to be considered as a choice to splash down in the ocean for maybe the future human manned missions to the moon, because we will have limited choices when go back from the moon.
Once again, the medical team is in position. They will be the first one to greet the astronauts. They are there to ensure that the flight crew is doing well after their flight, after their return home. They will make some medical assessments to make sure the astronauts are okay, and after that, the flight crew will egress the vehicle.
You may notice that because the Gobi Desert is more than 1,000 kilometers to the west of Beijing, so it's in different time. That's in
Still
Beijing
bright,
now.
huh?
Yes, it's still bright there.
Yeah. It's already almost 6 p.m.
But we can
It's
see
still
that
bright.
the sky is really blue, so it's in a very good weather.
Yeah, great weather conditions.
熊云讲，
舱门已打开，报告完毕。
Great.
Hatch.
The hatch has already been opened.
Yep. Yeah, so there you go. The hatch opening. Welcome home, the Shenzhou-17 crew. First breath of fresh air after getting back to Earth.
熊云讲，
便携站架设开通完毕，具备航天员通话通信条件，报告完毕。
都不明白。
The comm system is being established between the flight command and Beijing. We'll soon be hearing from the astronauts. And it's said that the ground unit has about 400 people, 80 cars divided into 3 groups. The air unit has 5 choppers, a massive operation.
So the first one to go out will be Mr. Tang Hongbo because he sits in the middle. So he must go out first.
It's also easier for him to get out first.
We can still see the beacons, the light
that's the
beacons.
light on the
that is
capsule.
one of the measures will help the rescue team to find the vehicle as soon as possible. We not only have these flash beacons, we also have the radio signals to send to help the ground team. With the ground staff, you can compare how small the re-entry capsule is. So 3 astronauts and wearing their IVA spacesuits there, so it's really narrow for them.
Their first human interaction with someone from Earth in the last 6 months. This is quite a special moment for the flight crew. And even in this moment, the hatch is opened. We're still taking our time to make sure that the astronauts are okay and everything on board is as it should be. This process is going to take about 40 minutes, and after that, we'll begin to see the crew leaving the capsule one by one.
Yeah. So at this stage, we still need the readaptation of gravity environment for the astronaut.
And just to give you an idea, help you to learn more about the taikonauts of the Shenzhou-17 mission. We've got Tang Hongbo, he is the commander of the Shenzhou-17 mission and is on his second mission. He's a former crew member of the Shenzhou-12 mission in 2021. He joined the PLA's Air Force in 1995. And taikonauts Tang Shengjie and Jiang Xinling are on their first mission to space. They're part of China's third batch of taikonauts. They're pretty young. They're selected only 3 years ago. Tang Shengjie is a former fighter pilot. He graduated from China's Aviation University of Air Force in 2012. And Jiang Xinling is a professional tank driver, wow, and a fighter pilot as well. During his 10-year career, Jiang has been recognized as a first-class pilot, clocking in over 1,000 flight hours. The ground crew will be helping the flight crew exiting the vehicle. This again is a standard procedure. It's very important that they are very careful. It's the crew's first time back in gravity in quite a long time.
Still, we can see that they still have a helicopter in the sky monitoring the whole environment.
Very true. I mean, the Shenzhou-17 crew has been in space for 6 months. Things can be a little different after.
It is also possible. Maybe this video we seen is getting from maybe an unmanned air vehicle. Also, it is possible because today is popular use.
That could be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, things can be very different after you've been in space for half a year with microgravity. So even for just getting out of their seats, things are different. There are some nuances associated with it.
Just before this return procedure, they has already enhanced their daily training, physical training every day because they have a schedule every day.
雄鹰报告，下面由航天员报告情况。报告完毕。
北京明白。
Yeah, we're standing by for a status report from the crew.
神舟17号报告，飞船正常着陆，航队员动腰感觉良好。
栋梁感觉良好。动3感觉良好。
Another feeling good crew.
Round of applause from the
北
control
京明
center.
白，祝贺神舟17号顺利返航，你们辛苦了，向你们致以崇高的敬意。我们在北京迎接你们凯旋。
Yeah, we've got some great comm checks there. We've just heard the crew saying everything is good. They feel great. See you in Beijing. And the Beijing says congratulations. Welcome home. See you in Beijing. So the first people goes into the capsule. It's from the medical team. What will they say? What will be the first words after they see the astronauts?
Yeah.
What
do you think they will do first?
正常，报告完毕。
都不明白。
And every astronaut has 2 doctors taking care of him. And they want to see whether the crew are in a relatively comfortable position. If not, they would want to move them to a relatively comfortable
雄
position.
鹰报告，
Yeah.
雄鹰讲，
正在进行舱内气体微生物采样。报告完毕。
It's now sampling the inside air.
Will they conduct any studies on those?
Yes, exactly. That's a very important reference for our future improvement of our manned spacecraft. Really important. Because it's already in the outer space for half a year.
I mean, the recovery team has prepared everything for the crew, from heating pad to sunglasses. They want to make their return as comfortable as they can let them. What about their first meal? They were going to have their first meal very soon.
Well, today this choice has been very, very practical. You know that
雄鹰报告，
雄鹰讲，
警戒区已建立，报告完毕。
Because you know that all the three crew members are from different provinces in China, so they have own choices for their first meal. For instance, Mr. Ye Guangfu is come from the Sichuan province. So usually, to our understanding, probably usually during his return, he found out the spicy
hot
food.
pot?
And
Would that
probably
be a little
Mr.
much?
Tang Hongbo is from Hunan province, or no?
Do they need a special diet though?
It's specially considered. That's because, as I mentioned, they need a readaptation of the gravity. So we must consider about the meal, the food, to their influence to their body.
We've got more vehicles arriving at the scene. And just how will the physical conditions of taikonauts get affected after spending 6 months in space?
Usually, we have the countermeasures to avoid the influence of microgravity in the loss of bones, the weakening of the muscles and the neural system, and also the weakening of the cardiovascular system. So all these countermeasures are proved effective during our experience since our Shenzhou-12 mission until today. You know that Mr. Tang Hongbo, the accumulated duration of him in outer space has been reached to 9 months. 9 months in outer space. The 3 months during the Shenzhou-12 mission and half a year during this Shenzhou-17 mission. So he now keeps the record for Chinese people in accumulated duration in outer space. But his record will be brought down half a year later by Mr. Ye Guangfu. So at that moment, during the return of Mr. Ye Guangfu, he will have the accumulated time in outer space about 1 year. Another record for China Aerospace. I believe, according to Mr. Zhou Jianping, the chief designer of China's manned space program, in the future, sooner or later, we will also have a plan to send the astronauts to stay in outer space for 1 year. So this is a very useful study on the impact you mentioned about the microgravity to human body. Also, on the other hand, this kind of study also we can recognize that is a very good preparation for our future expedition to Mars and even beyond.
Now they're back to Earth. Does it take a long time for them to readapt to gravity, to the environment on Earth? What will they do to make this happen?
Well,
舱内气体、微生物采样完毕。
okay, the sample has been collected.
真是你嘛？
And you know that today, with the improvements of our experience and technology, and also optimization of our daily schedule in outer space for our daily life of our astronauts, it becomes better and better. So during the early missions, we must be very, very careful. But today, with the optimized exercise every day, the astronauts can keep their physical condition and to readapt the Earth's gravity very soon than before. So today, that's also there are other measures such as nutrition. And also, that's the schedule is also optimized. Just before the re-entry, several weeks.
雄鹰报告，
雄鹰讲，
落点测量完毕，返回舱落点坐标为东经，1洞洞度，洞4分，洞8秒，东经1洞洞度，洞4分，洞8秒，北纬41度36分15秒，北纬41度36分15秒。
This is the announcement of the final landing coordinates of the spacecraft. Comparing with the 4 predictions, we can see that the predictions are really, really precise. So, although it's different, but a little, almost no difference.
So almost bullseye. They
Yeah.
almost hit bullseye.
This is because we adopted a controlled re-entry. So the spacecraft, why we have a propulsion system, so we can change our trajectory during the re-entry. So that is why it is so
北纬
accurate.
41度36分15秒，落点纬度北纬41度36分15秒，报告完毕。
北京明白。
As you can see, the Shenzhou-17 re-entry capsule is in recovery. We're standing by for egress.
Yeah.
Flight commander Tang Hongbo is expected to come out first.
Yeah. So we can still see the flash of the beacons. It will last several hours to help the rescue team.
And the ground unit has 3 trucks. They have also arrived. 3 trucks, 1 for each.
I believe
冷
so.
知报告，
I mean, that truck is amazing. It's got everything. Talk to us about
You may
what's on it.
notice that you may see the red flags. It still have strong wind near the
Pretty
landing
strong
site.
winds, yeah.
Pretty
东
strong.
风，雄鹰报告，
雄鹰讲，
伽马源防护盖已安装，报告完毕。
都不明白。
Oh, that is what I mentioned, the protection of the gamma ray altimeter. So at this moment, they will be very safe from the gamma ray radiation.
They're getting ready for the exit.
Yeah.
So as I said, the taikonauts will be doing all kinds of stuff on these amazing vehicles, on these amazing trucks. They can have a medical checkup there, they can have a hot meal, a shower, and they can also get changed.
Yeah. But still, they can only meet their family members in the Beijing, in the Xijiao airport.
So they will be heading to Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center first,
They
and then to Beijing.
will fly to Beijing from the Dingxin airport, very close. I believe you've been there before. Very close to the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, and then to the Xijiao airport in Beijing. But they will only meet their family members in the very short term, and they will have a quarantine procedure for several weeks to avoid any infection of maybe virus.
Where will they be going through quarantine? Beijing?
Yes, they will be quarantined in Space City of Beijing.
Okay. So immediately after this, where are they heading?
一间医保人员正在进行航天员座椅安装，报告完毕。
都不明白。
I believe they will go out soon.
Yeah, they're setting up the seats.
The ground staff are preparing the seats for them. Well, what you ask, you know that the quarantine procedure is conducted in the Beijing city. You know that there is a apartment of the astronaut in the space city. I've been there in 10 years before, and they usually during their training, usually the astronauts stay there, not in their home, and the quarantine also conducted there.
And the hatch is only about 60 to 70 centimeters wide, so it's not that easy to get them out. Plus, they're wearing these
The
IVA
hatch
suits.
we can see now is also the hatch between the re-entry capsule and the orbital module.
Right.
So we only have one hatch on our re-entry capsule, and very,
there's
very
no,
small.
Yeah, there's no side hatch.
Yeah. But for the future, our second generation manned spaceship called Mengzhou, it will have a side hatch because it adopted a 2-module design. Only the re-entry capsule and the service module. So it must have the front hatch to go into the lunar lander. And also we have a side hatch during the launch and during the re-entry.
So very soon we're going to see the Shenzhou-17 crew being helped out of the return capsule one at a time.
Yep.
But what are the things to be paid special attention to during that process?
They must move very, very slowly. Because you know that comparing with themselves, their bones are relatively weak than before.
都不明白。
So we must be very, very careful. Although you know that in abnormal conditions, the astronauts can save themselves, but still we must be careful
And they will be carried out of the capsule.
by the ground staff.
Why is that?
As I mentioned, if they move by themselves, maybe it is although it is they do have little chances, but still it is possible to break the bones.
I mean, this landing is pretty smooth. The capsule managed to
Quite
land.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Very, very smooth, the whole procedure.
Yeah. So, if anything goes wrong, the capsule landed on the water or on a hill, the recovery team is quite capable of extracting the astronauts under any conditions.
That is the reason why the prediction is so important, to help the ground teams go to the unpredicted area as soon as possible, to help the astronauts. On the other hand, all the astronauts, no exception, must be trained to have their ability to survive in the wild field for at least 2 days. So all these, they mentioned that perhaps the most tough training for them is survival training in the Gobi Desert for 2 days. Then they even need to drink their own urine.
Oh no!
To save the water, because they only have limited water. And also they have pistols to protect them from the wild animals.
Wow. So they are perfectly capable of getting out of the capsule on their own and then survive.
They can do that, but on the other hand, we must be careful. Maybe in the future, when we already been very, very experienced and very, very confident, maybe we can optimize the procedure to go out by ourselves.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that they are bringing back a number of experimental specimens. Will those specimens be transferred to Beijing immediately after this?
The whole capsule will be brought back to Beijing, to the space city. And also we will have a ceremony to open the hatch and bring the samples to the certain research institutes. And also maybe there are something special, for instance, maybe some first day covers and these kind of things for the outreach purposes.
And now the space station up there, the Tiangong, is in how many modules does it have?
It has 3 modules and 2 spacecraft. The Tianhe-1 core module, Wentian and Mengtian laboratory modules, and also the Tianzhou-17 cargo spacecraft, and also the Shenzhou-18 manned spacecraft. So the combination of 5 spacecraft.
It's much bigger than it was in the very beginning, but there are plans to expand it into an even bigger one.
Yes. You know that I took the pictures of the trajectory of our Tiangong space station in our sky of Beijing several years before. And you know that because Tiangong is much bigger than early our Tiangong 1 and Tiangong 2, so the trajectory is much more brighter than before. So it's very interesting. You can also see the very bright spot going through the sky of Beijing. So it's a very beautiful view.
And we've noticed the Shenzhou-17 crew, they're all selected from the second and the third batch of astronauts in 2010 and 2020. We're hearing words that we are closing the 4th batch of taikonaut selection process very soon.
Quite right. Yes. So according to the announcement of Mr. Lin Xiqiang several days before, we already almost complete the selection of the 4th batch. And absolutely, we have all astronauts, the payload experts from Hong Kong or Macau.
That's a good news. Do we know how many new astronauts are we getting?
Not confirmed, formally released, but we believe that we will have more payload experts and flight engineers in this batch. So you know that today we were already in the stage of the utilization and the development. So the major task of our Tiangong station is to conduct scientific research, to do experiments. So that is the reason why we need so payload experts. So we need our scientists to reach our Tiangong space station to conduct scientific research directly. And also in the future, we can hope that we can have more, as I mentioned, for instance, the material made in Tiangong space station it can benefit the processing of the axis used by our bearings, used by our construction of metro system, and also be helpful for us to construct more ideal nuclear plants. So all these transplanting of technologies we got from research works on board our Tiangong station will be very, very important, also very, very helpful for our daily life, for our national economy, and even for the progress of the whole human society.
Yeah, a lot more to expect there. When do you think these new astronauts will start their mission? I mean, for Jiang Shengjie and Jiang Xinling and Tang Shengjie, They only trained for a couple of years before taking this flight, right? They became astronauts in 2020, and then they had their first flight in 2023.
Make a record that he returned to Tiangong Space Station within only 2 years. So I believe that Mr. Tang Shengjie and Jiang Xinlin is so young. So I believe they can have plenty of chances to have their second mission.
雄鹰奖
一监一保人员正在对一监一旧载体进行消毒，报告完毕。
Oh, the mechanics are preparing for the astronauts, the vehicle.
And according to authorities, it's very likely that the new astronauts could be a part of the moon landing mission of China.
So according to Mr. Yang Liwei, our space hero, also today the deputy chief designer of China Manned Space Program, all the crew members attending China's human mission to the moon must have their experience in our Tiangong Space Station. So this is a basic requirement. You know that although the human missions to the moon is much shorter than the space station mission, today our Tiangong Space Station, all missions last for half a year. Right. But for a moon mission, usually it lasts for 1 or 2 weeks. So it's much shorter than the Tiangong missions, but it's much more dangerous and more challenging than the Tiangong missions, because to go into the moon, we have so many critical steps, and each step is important, each step is dangerous. So they must have the ability to handle all kinds of things. So I believe that why we choose so many young guys for our future missions, because they must be trained first and have the experience. This will be very helpful. As we to see today, they will experience the launch process, the return, and all these are also very risky. And for them to have a better understanding of the real space missions, and this can be recognized as a good preparation for the future missions to the moon.
So we can expect to see all those young astronauts doing rotations up there at the Tiangong Space Station in preparation for the moon landing.
Yes, and also there is a joke. You know that you were already during your introduction to Mr. Jiang Xinlin. You know that before he became a fighter pilot, he can drive tanks. So there is a rumor that he is the most ideal choice for the future, the one to drive the rovers on the moon surface.
So we're standing by for the egress. We're hearing words that the flight commander will come out from the capsule very soon. He will take a few minutes to speak to the press after exiting the re-entry capsule.
Yeah, I believe your colleagues from the CMG will ask us questions to maybe Mr. Tang Hongbo first.
Yeah.
So we can still see the twilight of the near Gobi Desert near the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Yeah. So this is a really beautiful view of the re-entry capsule, and it looks like a bell. You consider about it. But the new generation, our Mengzhou spaceship, will be much different from this one. It will be much bigger than the Shenzhou re-entry capsule, and it can have 7 crew members if it goes to the Tiangong Space Station.
What about commercial space travel? Do China have plans to achieve that soon?
Yes, absolutely. You know that, as we mentioned, space tourism is a very hot topic today in commercial space field. So you know that today many private companies in China are preparing for suborbital space travel. In the future,
just to travel to the edge of the space. Right?
Yes, so touching the outer space for several minutes, like that was being done by Blue Origin or the
Virgin Galactic.
Exactly. So China's many private companies are also preparing for this kind of business. But for the orbital travel today, we can only use our based on our China Manned Space Program. But as I mentioned, that in the future, the new generation of China's manned spaceship can have up to 7 crew members to our Tiangong Space Station. So it is quite possible, I believe, from my personal view, to have the tourists inside this crew.
And by what stage will we see foreign astronauts, from other countries also living and working in the Tiangong station alongside with Chinese astronauts?
Well, sooner or later, we can see the foreign astronauts to visit the Tiangong space station via our Shenzhou spaceship. I believe that this will happen within several years during the operation phase of our Tiangong space station. So the preparation work, as announced formally by China Manned Space Agency, we are now in the preparation of this mission. And also, that why this is really important, not only because people care about it, because that we still recognize ourselves with China is not an advanced country in space field. For becoming an advanced country in space field, we have all kinds of criteria. For the China Manned Space Program, not only landing on the moon, walking on the moon will be one criteria, but the international cooperation will be very important factor for becoming an advanced country. So we have contact with all the space agencies in other countries, and it is quite possible, as we discussed, to have seen the foreign astronauts to stay in Tiangong space station.
Yeah, talk to us about what kind of vision, does China have for international cooperation on board this Tiangong space station, and what areas do you see that kind of cooperation emerging the most effectively?
That today I believe we've already, that one thing we've already been accomplished is calling for proposals for the joint experiments on board Tiangong space station, which has been done by China Manned Space Agency and UNUSA, or United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. So they called for proposal several years before, and already there are 9 experiments selected by these two organizations, and the scientists and engineers in other countries had already made these payload, the devices for these experiments. So sooner or later, we can see that these experimental devices will be brought by Tiangong space station, either by Shenzhou spaceship or by a Tianzhou cargo spacecraft, and being conducted by Chinese astronauts. So this is the most easy way for international cooperation. We can more frequently to see this kind of cooperation. But in the future, also, as you also mentioned, will be the visit of the foreign astronauts. But it is not the end of a cooperation. So in the future, the third level will be the visit of the spacecraft from other countries.
求演讲，
动幺航天员出舱前准备完毕，报告完毕。
Great, Mr. Tongbo will go out.
东风明白。
Yeah, looks like they are ready to proceed with the exit process.
Yep.
More medics arriving. There are quite a number of people helping them to get out. Now, getting out of the capsule may seem simple, but there is some nuances associated with it. You certainly want to be aware that it's the crew's first time back in gravity in quite a long time.
More than half a year. As I mentioned, 188 days.
Yeah. So the ground crew wants to make sure that when the crew gets out of the vehicle, they're doing it as safely as possible and also as comfortable as they can let them.
Not only they experience the 0G for more than half a year, also they have already just experienced the G forces and intensive vibration several minutes before. So that is why the reason we must be very, very careful.
There you see the chair. Chair is in position.
Dongfeng, 雄鹰报告。
求演讲，
动幺航天员准备出舱，报告完毕。
东风明白。
It's a go for Mr. Tang Hongbo.
From his voices, I can believe that he is in good shape.
There you have it. We can already see his feet. So feet out first. There you go. First
雄鹰
one
报告，
is Tang Hongbo.
雄鹰奖，
动幺航天员已出舱，报告完毕。
东风明白。
Tang Hongbo again is a veteran astronaut. Used to be a fighter jet pilot. This is his second mission to space. His first flight to space was in 2021 on board the Shenzhou-17 spacecraft. That was. Let's take a listen. He's about
你好，
to speak
汤
to
洪
the
波。
press.
Hello, Tang
欢迎
Hongbo.
回家。
Welcome back.
我是中央广播电视
And
台
we
的
are
台
with
长
CMG
首位
as the first tackonauts back to the China space station from a 3-month mission to 6-month mission. And this time you're back to Dongfeng landing site for a second time. Anything you would like to say? I feel so proud of my country. And I came back in spring. I departed in autumn. I feel like I experienced the most beautiful seasons. And thank you for everyone's attention. I miss you so much. Flying in the space station for over 180 days, I finished all the tasks, but also at the same time, I miss my home. Every time when I fly over the mainland, the homeland, I always looking for my homeland.
充满着思
And
念和自
also
豪。
full of
北京的
pride
天安门广场
and the Tiananmen Square in Beijing, and also that's in my hometown at the landmarks in Yellow Mountain. Actually, I saw them and also took pictures. Now finally I came back
实在是特别好啊！
and I feel everything so
接下
good.
来期待早点见
And
到
going
我
forward,
的
I hope that I can see my colleagues
亲人朋友们
and also
好
my
久不
friends
见
and
想你
also
们
family
了
members. I miss you so much.
谢谢谢谢。
Thank you very much.
That was Flight Commander Tang Hongbo. A big smile on his face and a wave as well. He is feeling good. Welcome home, Tang Hongbo.
Yeah, full of happiness and confidence.
And you asked whether he's from Hunan. Seems like he is from Hunan province.
Yeah,
You
I
talk
believe he
about
will
those
have some
places
spicy
at
food.
hometown. Yeah. He had been trained for 11 years before taking that first flight to space. He became a taikonaut in 2010.
And you know that Mr. Tang Hongbo is the fourth one in the second batch of our astronauts to have a space mission.
雄鹰奖，
正在台送动幺航天员至1号一间急救车，报告完毕。
He will be transferred
东风明白
to。the medical truck
Yeah.
where he will have
Each
some
crew
medical
member with one.
checkups.
Yeah, we have 3 medical tracks.
Yeah. He will get to change into more comfortable clothes, have a hot meal, and a hot shower. Not a sponge bath anymore. Great
We
to see
haven't
him back.
experienced this for half a year, more than
yeah.
half a year.
Oh yeah, and this is also his first time staying in the Tiangong space for half a year.
Yeah.
Last time he only stayed for 3
雄鹰报告
months，
Yes.
in the Tiangong space
有一点。
station.
So the red tracks are what you
动两
mentioned, the
航天
medical
员
tracks
出
for
舱
each of
前准
them.
备完毕，报告完毕。
东风明白。
So the astronauts will stay in the truck for about 40 minutes to an hour. How long do you think does it take for them to get used to gravity again?
That depends on their own personal conditions and also depending on what I mentioned, their trainings. How ideal is that? And also depending on the examination, medical examinations, maybe within 1 or 2
东
weeks.
风，雄鹰报告，
雄鹰奖，
动两航天员准备出舱，报告完毕。
东风明白。
Yeah, the next astronaut getting out is 02. That's Mr. Tang Shungjie.
Yes.
Mr. Tang Shungjie was born in 1989. He is from
东
Gansu
风
province.
雄鹰报告，
So
雄
young.
鹰奖，
动幺航天员已台送至1号一间急救车，报告完毕。
东风明白。
And Mr. Tang Shengjie is the youngest astronaut in China who conducted an EVA.
Wow.
So he also made the record.
Yeah, this is his first flight to space, and already is making records, breaking
东
records.
风雄鹰报告，
And there you have it. Welcome home, 唐胜杰。
栋梁航天员已出舱，报告完毕。
都不明白。
He will also speak to the press for a bit.
唐师姐你好，欢迎回家。
Hello, welcome back, Tang Shenjie, for your first time fly, and you finished all the assigned tasks. Anything you'd like to share with us?
半年啊，又回到
Now,
地球。
after the half a year, I came back to the Earth. I'm very excited, but also I would like to say a big thank you to my motherland and also
接续奋斗的航天人，
appreciate the hard work made by the generations of people involved in this industry, and with the efforts of
我
the
们齐心协力，共
my
同完
team
成了
and
所有
also
的
that
基地任
the
务。
ground team, we finished
对我来说
all
呢
the
6
missions.
个月
And for me, the
是
6 months
为之6个月的学习。
mission is also a learning journey for me, and also a journey for exploration. I learned a lot.
星空浩瀚无比，
There is a vast universe, and there is no end for
我想
me
呢
to continue to
实现
explore.
飞天的梦想。
I believe that my dream came true, but that's not finished. That's also a brand new start for
全力的
me.
配合工作
So
人
I
员
will
做好后恢复工作，
cooperate with the
以
ground staff
最佳的
and
状态
to
投入到后续的训
prepare
练当中。
myself to the following up training.
谢谢你，谢谢
Thank
你
you.。
Now he's already beginning to prepare for his next mission.
How long do you think it'll take before he gets back up there?
I believe he has plenty of chances. Maybe 2 years, 3 years. That's all possible.
How long does it take for your body to completely recover from a space travel physically?
Well, according to the introduction of our astronaut system, Ms. Huang Weifen, the chief designer of our astronaut system, usually they take several months to completely recover to the status before their launch.
雄鹰报告，
So they will have a normal training after that.
正在台送栋梁航天员至2号1间急救车，报告完毕。
都不明白。
So Mr. Tang Shengjie and also the Mr. Li Cong, the crew member of the Shenzhou-18 crew, both were born in 1989. So they are the cozy 1990 generation. So this is the youngest guy we've ever seen in China aerospace space missions. I believe that they will be play a very important role, even a leading role in the future coming missions.
And very
More
soon-
challenging.
Yeah. And soon we're going to see Gen Zers entering the astronauts team.
Yeah.
You're looking at Tang Shenjie being transferred to the medical truck. Once again, feeling great. Big smiles. They look great. They sound great. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to see Jiang Xinling, the last member of the Shenzhou-17 crew, getting out of the vehicle. How long does the rehab training usually last? Several months?
It also depends. So also it depends on, as I mentioned, the examination by the medics.
I bet their first meals on the truck must be
Yep.
really good.
And based what they favorite, their own favorite.
雄鹰奖。
栋梁航天员已台送至2号1间急救车，报告完毕。
都不明白。
Next up, we have Jiang Xinling. He was born in 1988. He is from Henan province. Used to be a pilot from the Air Force and became a taikonaut in 2020, just as Tang Shenjie did. So the two had been training together for quite some while,
Yeah.
and then became a team. This is also his first flight to space.
Yeah, for him, because he's from Henan province, I believe that the first meal, noodle will be a good choice. Because in Henan we have very good, very delicious
Oh, yeah.
noodles.
I'm sure their colleagues up there, the Shenzhou-18 crew, are watching this very closely too.
with the help of Tianlian data relay satellite, the Shenzhou-17 crew can watch the whole live coverage directly. As the Shenzhou-17 crew just watched the launch live coverage of CMG just several days before.
东风雄鹰报告，
雄鹰讲，
洞3航天员已出舱，报告完毕。
东风明白。
That's a visual confirmation of Jiang Xinling exiting the returning capsule in great conditions.
Again, your colleagues from CMG will have a short interview.
蒋欣林，欢迎回家。
Hello, good to see you, Jiang Xinling. Welcome
从太
back.
空家园回到地球家
From
园，
a home
此
in
刻感觉如
space
何？
back to
有什
the
么想说
home
的？
in the blue planet. Anything you'd like to share with us? The trip to the space is half a year. Every day actually is a full packed schedule, and every day is full of miracles for me. And now I came back to my homeland. I'm very excited, and I also feel proud of my motherland.
后续啊，我会
Going forward, I will work hard
恢复工作。
to recover myself, and I hope to get back to the space as early as possible. Thank you.
3名航天员稍后会转移到旁边的一间医保车上，然后进行大概140分钟的重力再适应。
Once again,
结束之后
all
呢，
the
然后3
three
名航天
crew
员分
members
别
of
会搭乘
Shenzhou-17
3架直升机，然后
successfully
转移到附近的机场，
landed
然后
on
再
Mother
乘坐
Earth
包机回到北
and
京进
exited
行
the
恢
re-entry
复疗
capsule.
养。这是总台记者从着陆现场发回的报道。
There you have it.
东风报告，
我是北京东风，请讲。
3名航天员已出舱，后续组织航天员一间医保工作，报告完毕。
北京明白。
Shenzhou-17 crew is now safely back home on Earth. They're getting checked out by the medical team. A very successful recovery operation. Big congrats to the team working on this mission. And from all of us, welcome home, Shenzhou-17. It's been a pleasure sharing that incredible journey with all of you.
各号注意，我是北京。飞船返回舱正常返回。
The capsule returned safely back to Dongfeng landing site. The 3 technonauts are in good condition, and Shenzhou-17 crew mission a complete success.
returning capsule in great conditions.
Again, your colleagues from CMG will have a short interview.
江心凌，欢迎回家。
Hello, good to see you, Jiang Xinling. Welcome
从太
back.
空家园回到地球家
From
园，
the a home
此
in
刻感觉如
space
何？
back to
有什
the
么想说
home
的？
in the blue planet. Anything you'd
太
like to
空出
share
差
with
的
us?
这半年时
The
间里
trip
啊，
to the space, it's half a year. Every day, actually, it's a full-packed schedule, and every day is full of miracles for me. And now I came back to my homeland.
为
I'm
我
very
们伟大的
excited,
祖国
and I
感到
also
无比
feel
的骄傲
proud of
和
my
自豪。
motherland.
后续啊，我会
And
继
going
续努
forward,
力
I will
做
work
好
hard
恢复工作。
to recover myself, and I hope to get back to
谢谢。
the space as early as
谢谢
possible.
您。
Thank you.
3名航天员稍后会转移到旁边的一间医保车上，然后进行大概140分钟的重力再适应。
Once again,
结束之后
all
呢，
the
然后
three
3名航
crew
天员分
members
别
of
会搭乘
Shenzhou-17
3架直升机，然后
successfully
转移到附近的机场，
landed
然后
on
再
Mother
乘坐
Earth
包机回到北
and
京进
exited
行
the
恢
re-entry
复疗
capsule.
养。这是总台记者从着陆现场发回的报道。
Mission. We also have a special Beijing.
Yeah, you've watched so many recovery missions. How does this compare with others? How would you assess this one? How successful is it
Well, as I
in
mentioned,
terms of efficiency?
it's already become an ordinary routine almost. So this shows that our technology becomes more and more practical. So you may notice that that during the Qiuyuan, you may still remember that during the Shenzhou-12 and the Shenzhou-17 mission, we have some special coverage on the EVA of our astronaut. But today we don't have any special coverage on the EVA because it's already very, very practical.
Routine.
Yeah, ordinary routine.
Yeah. It's almost about an hour after touchdown.
Yes.
So extracting the astronauts, it's a fairly long process. Will it be shortened in the future?
Yes, probably. That's as I mentioned, because
Right.
our technology becomes more and more practical.
All right. Now, the China Manned Space Engineering Office has declared the Shenzhou-17 mission a success after its safe return to the Dongfeng landing site in North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region. It says medical exams show the 3 taikonauts are all in good health. The crew has completed a 6-month stay in orbit at China's Tiangong space station. Last October, they were sent into space from the Jiuquan satellite launch center, powered by China's Long March 2F rocket. So welcome back home once again, Shenzhou-17. So Professor Yang, our reporter Sun Yiming, I believe, is standing by the Dongfeng landing site. We'll be able to speak to him in a short while. But before that, looking at the Shenzhou-18 crew mission, they are there, up there in Tiangong. What kind of tasks lies ahead for them?
Well, they were very interesting. As we've already discussed during the launch of Shenzhou, they will have their fish, feeding the fish in outer space. So this is the first time, although that the other countries have already brought mice to the International Space Station, but still the first step is really important for us. So this is a really important and really meaningful experiment for our Shenzhou-18 crew. Of course, it is a little bit challenging because they must keep the health. They must look after the fish, zebrafish, very carefully in outer space. Also, that it also with the plants also form a closed biosystem, a very shrinked ecosystem. So this is also a study for the future corresponding technologies. Moreover, they will conducting maintenance for our very critical pipes and cables outside our space station to avoid the impact of the debris. So this is also an extremely important step to ensure the more than 10-year operation of our Tiangong space station. We hope that it can work longer because that today we are in the utilization and the development phase. So which means that we are getting the results from the returns from the scientific research. So if it can work longer, we will have even higher research efficiency in conducting the scientific research.
What do you think that has been done in China to foster innovation in space? What are the parts that excites you the most?
You may notice that we adopted a 3-module design of the Tiangong space station, similar to the 3rd generation Mir space station. So from this view, it has the same feature of the Mir space station. But that Tiangong space station belongs to the 4th generation because it adopted many advanced technologies. Some are even more advanced than the International Space Station. So from the view of efficiency and from the view of the, for instance, the power supply, the power output is as good as the International Space Station, although the scale is much smaller. So I believe the innovation on system level is a remarkable one. So you know that until today we should be aware that China still a developing country. So we only have a limited budget on space program, especially in manned space program. So what we care most is the efficiency. So we don't need a so big space station